Paper Mario Origami King is the 6th installment in the Paper Mario series. It's also the first Paper Mario game I've ever completed, and I quite enjoyed it. That said, I know it's pretty light on its RPG elements, with the biggest departure from games of old being a lack of experience and leveling. Instead, you get coins. Coins from battling, coins from solving puzzles, coins everywhere. With this in mind, I decided to challenge myself and answer the question, how many coins do you need to beat Paper Mario Origami King? Oh, and before we get going, there will be spoilers, so you've been warned. The Origami King begins like most Mario games, with the Mario Brothers on their way to Peach's castle to celebrate an event of some kind. Peach, however, has already been captured and forcibly folded into origami by Prince Ollie. He also steals away the entire castle using giant paper streamers, which we must then travel around the world and destroy by hitting stuff really hard with our hammer. Joining us on this journey is Olivia, a little origami girl who ended up being one of the highlights of the game for me. She's the epitome of a little confused, but she got the right spirit. As for tools, we have our 1000-fold origami arms magic ability, as well as the aforementioned hammer and some shoes. While there are fights against large paper mache or paper macho soldiers, which takes place in real time, the majority of combat takes place in turn-based combat atop a giant ring. Like many, I thought this was like a huge gimmick, but ring battles ended up being a really engaging combat system. Rewarded with a damage boost whenever you successfully align enemies in normal combat, while boss battles each feel like their own unique puzzle. During battle, you can spend coins, which is not gonna happen, to get extra time on the clock, or to get these spectating toes to cheer, which gives you some nice help. But since that's entirely optional, I didn't do it. Coins can also be spent on, you guessed it, goods and or services. The most prominent examples are the item and accessory shop in Toad Town, though there are vendors sprinkled throughout the game. What you're looking at here is said shop's inventory at the end of the game, which should give you an idea on what we're avoiding with this challenge. Healing mushrooms, damaging items like fire and ice flowers, weapons, and also battle accessories that increase your combat health, add more time to the clock, and so on. Now, without levels or accessories, the only way to increase our overall power is through the occasional max-up hearts found throughout the game. Without traveling off the beaten path all that much, I found enough to eventually get up around like 165 health. These hearts, either incrementally or occasionally, it's not super clear, also increase damage done with your base items, so I never felt too weak compared to my opposition. All that said, the path ahead isn't the most difficult, but it's also not a walk in the park. So, what traveling expenses are we going to incur throughout this journey? Well, let's go through those while also highlighting some of my favorite moments, because why not? Our jaunts through the Whispering Woods is quite nice and completely free, and they even threw in a complimentary song and dance sequence at the end, which was quite nice. Toad Town is equally as free, though we are forced to save the shopkeeper at the end. I would have just rather left him trapped in that pillar, but that's not an option. Things, though, get a bit tricky starting at the Overlook Mountain. According to a frantic Koopa on Picnic Road, there's some kind of bad situation going on. Turns out the Earth Vellumental's temple is inaccessible because 4 of the shellstones needed to open the door have been taken. Unfortunately, we have to pay for the first shellstone because this mole is auctioning it off like right now. Bidding starts at 10,000 coins, but that's so overpriced. Even the 3 nearby Koopas agree. No thanks. $300. Oh, okay. You know, I guess that works. Also, if I don't buy it, I have an odd feeling that those 3 Koopas will buy it and then only give it up if I pay 1,500, which definitely isn't stonks. Luckily, the other 3 shellstones don't require any of me money. One is behind a section of wall here, another is inside a Cheep Cheep, which can be fished up via a little free minigame, and the final is yoinked away from some giant paper machos who were playing football with it. Now that we can enter the Earth of Elementals temple, be warned, throughout the first area there are a number of donation boxes, just begging Mario to drop coins into them. Do not do it. Do not let those enterprising Koopas swindle you out of your easily earned money. Not even here. Simply hammer the wall to knock down the false spirit, which also opens the way to the real temple. Said temple is quite doable, ending with a boss battle against the large Origami Earth of Elemental. As you can tell, boss battles are also ring battles, but with a much bigger emphasis on puzzling out your route on each turn. Each boss battle tends to have a specific gimmick or theme that you must work around, but this one is pretty straightforward. As a reward, Olivia learns how to fold herself into the Earth of Elemental a la Sailor Moon, and she even uses a pair of pom-poms. It's so cute. With said power, Mario and Olivia can enter Overlook Tower, which is where the Red Streamer spool can be found. The boss battle at the top is interesting, because our opponent is literally a sentient box of colored pencils. While I think it's an ironically uncreative design on the surface, it actually ended up being a pretty neat fight. In the first phase, we have to target its backside to slam down the lid, making it backfire while also avoiding the spots that it marks. In the second phase, when the moment arises, we can use the origami arms to grab those pencils and absolutely go to town. The next streamer we'll destroy is located on Autumn Mountain, which can be reached with a deceptively long tram ride. While Bobby, as he comes to be known, is a fun companion, he's not all that impactful during combat. He's also great at getting lost. And he's gone. While wrangling Bobbert is a bit annoying, it doesn't cost any money, just time. The Water of Elemental Shrine is much the same, requiring you to do a couple easy puzzles, ending with a boss fight against No Eyes Blue Dragon. While his water spouts and surf attack can be rough, well-timed Earth of Elemental magic is more than enough to emerge victorious. With our newly gained water pistol, we can refill the Eddy River, and in exchange for an open can of tuna, the recently unfolded Master Oarsman agrees to ferry us downriver for free. Our first stopping point is Shogun Studios, which is required because the streamer stops us from continuing any farther down the river. More unfortunately, a guest pass to enter the park costs 2,400 gold smackaroos. You better make the most of this, Olivia, because we are not coming back after this. Our journey through the park can be a bit scattered, but here is what is required. We need the key to the main theater's gate, which is supposed to be in the staff room. While it's not actually in the staff room, that room does have a required Goomba mask, which, as added bonus, really makes Olivia laugh, which is pretty wholesome. The key's actual location is within the Tricky Ninja house, which requires a little item trading sequence, during which we're forced to pay 500 coins to participate in a little shuriken minigame. Thankfully, the rest of the park can be done without any other expenses. It's also fun because it ends with a neat series of encounters in the Big Show Theater, and then a neat boss fight against Big Ol' Rubber Band Man. His stretchiness makes planning your movement a bit more interesting, and it was actually really satisfying seeing his health get chipped away. With that, we can finally destroy the streamer, get a quick celebratory parade with fireworks, and continue down the river to Sweet Paper Valley. Unfortunately, our merry band is ambushed by King Ollie, who unceremoniously drops a giant boulder on Olivia. She's alive, but trapped, so Bobby leads us out onto the Great Sea in search of a special item that should help free Olivia. During this tour on the Princess Peach, we tango with a paper macho blooper. That done, and special item retrieved, it's now time to rush back to Sweet Paper Valley to save Olivia, but not before we're learning Bobby's backstory. In a surprising turn of events, Bobby equips his old friend's fuse and saves his brand new friend Olivia by blowing himself up. Yeah, he straight up sacrifices himself to save Olivia like he's actually dead. For real, they never bring him back. This caught me off guard because it's been forever since I've seen an actual character death for a non-villain in a Nintendo game, like dang. Olivia naturally takes this pretty hard, quickly retreating to cry by herself in the upper left room of the mole hideout. Prompted by Bobby's spirit, Mario does what he can to make Olivia happy, which is to make her laugh with the Goomba mask. I know this is a kid's game, but come on, I got a little misty-eyed here. Well, like Olivia said, we have to keep going. So we move forward through the tunnel towards the scorching sandpaper desert, but not before getting the keys to our brand new car, which is actually just a drivable shoe. It's both fun and fast, meaning we can vroom vroom away from the sadness. On to the desert. Our quest to unearth the streamer requires reading some ancient text, for which Professor Toad's expertise is needed. The trail leads back to Shroom City Hotel, which has an ancient mural. Unfortunately, the last crucial bit of information is on the wall of the special suite, which is currently being rented by some green hat dude. Much like in Shogun Studios, gaining access to Luigi and his key hurts our wallet because he's trapped inside of the large lamp over the Sniff It Con Man's tent. It costs 100 coins to start his unwinnable minigame, and then another 1,000 coins to try again, this time it being actually winnable. With Luigi's room key in hand, we can go read the rest of the mural, which also teaches Olivia how to be a K-pop star. Despite the very obvious fire hazard, the Fire Vellumental Cave and the subsequent boss fight are quite doable with some care and a bit of water. With Olivia's new Moltres form, we can light the 4 Sheikah towers found throughout the desert, each needing a gem to be returned to help summon forth the Shroom Temple. In this spooky crypt, we come face to face with a number of deformed toads. Not so spooky, the streamer's spool is being guarded by a sentient hole punch who is really obsessed with getting his boogie on. As for the boss fight, the only worrying mechanic is his titular hole punch attack, which will temporarily half our already limited health pool. A side effect of destroying the streamer is that the desert has a sun again, which means that the sun altar has revealed an underground tomb, or freezer. It seems the ancient Captain T. Ode got stuck here for crimes against grammar, but no worries because he's agreed to join us out onto the Great Sea, aka the Wind Waker section of the game. The captain also lends us his chart, which leads us through the fog to Bonehead Island. On said island, completing a little minigame puzzle summons a giant oscillating fan which clears the sea of fog. Okay then. Our next required stop is Crescent Island, which one magical dance later turns into Moon Island, rewarding us with a mushroom handle. Said handle can be used to get to the backyard of the mushroom house on Mushroom Island, where we'll find Luigi, just hanging out. After retrieving the diamond key from him, our trio heads down into the basement to get a bit of exposition from the origami craftsman himself. That done, the diamond key can be used to enter Diamond Island, which is actually just a submerged structure located between Club, Heart, Moon, and Spade Islands. Inside, there are temples containing the Trial of Wisdom, Courage, and Power, two of which need the Ice Elemental power to access, so that's what I did next. The only thing I'll say for the Ice Dungeon is that the Ice Block puzzles still aren't fun, and the required jog from the save box to the Ice Bear fight seems unnecessarily long, made worse by the fact that I died a number of times until I finally scorched the giant paper polar bear, so yeah, that's the thing. Back at that first area, let's go left to right. The Trial of Power requires Mario to destroy blocks of varying sizes within the given time limit. For the most part, it's just a test of your action command timing, which was pretty fun. In the Trial of Wisdom, we have to participate in a little quiz. The first two rooms test your knowledge, while the third tests your logical ability, which is neat. And then finally, the Trial of Courage tests your willpower by dropping an iron weight down, requiring you to stop it just before you get crushed. The third and final stage is a giant thwomp, which definitely didn't spook me the first time around. From these trials, we received 3 color-coded orbs, which are used to access the Sea Tower because that was our goal all along. I probably should have mentioned that earlier. Located in the northwest part of the map, the Sea Tower is a elementally themed and filled dungeon, more or less rehashing previous concepts to test your mastery of the elements. Along the way, we'll pass a number of toads taped onto the walls, which can't possibly be foreshadowing, could it? Of course it is, because the protector of the purple streamer is none other than tape. This fight is broken up into 2 distinct phases, and it can get pretty rough if not handled properly. In the first phase, you need to attack his dispenser from all 4 corners to break its base, while also prioritizing the chest when possible because Tape likes hiding panels in the chest. In the second phase, Tape channels his inner need for speed, rolling all over the place. He'll tape up certain sections of the ring, which restricts movement. Enough of these and it'll be near impossible to clear, so be sure to use fire to burn them away before that happens. After enough damage, an origami hand attack can seal his fate. That done, activating the 4 totems will create a beam of light that takes us right to Hyrule, I mean Paradise. This angelic looking place is Shangri Spa, which is also where we'll find the 5th and final streamer. Unfortunately, in a cruel twist of fate, we need to pay to enter Paradise. Literally, a guest pass is 1,000 coins. Ugh, fine. At least we get a nice stamp card with it, so that's something. Guest pass obtained. We can head to the left where we'll find the first of 4 famous spas. I'm not sure how safe it is for Paper to spend a lot of time in hot watery spa, but Olivia seems to be enjoying herself, so I'm sure it's fine. After using a spa, we get the corresponding stamp on our card. We gotta work towards that for a nice bonus, I guess. Outside, we find Kamek working as a groundskeeper. It turns out that during the escape from Peach's castle's kidnapping, Bowser's floating castle ended up falling out of the sky, right onto Shangri Spa, so his minions are working to pay off their debt. Speaking of, the origin of the streamer is inside Bowser's castle, which is inaccessible due to an angry lightning boy. When Bowser Jr. comes rushing in, he gets Persona 5'd into pieces by a pair of flying scissors. Uh-oh. From here, our goal is to help restore Bowser Jr. back to his former paper glory, which means visiting all 4 of Shangri's spas. His rips and tears are healed at the Spring of Purification, which is where we just were. To the south of the main island is the Spring of Sanctuary, which was being hogged by some folded Goombas. I did these a bit out of order, but the third spring I visited was the Spring of Jungle Mist, which is the farthest one away off to the west. This one requires a bit of a hike, made much longer due to a currently missing bridge. In this jungly area, just so you know, always listen to Kamek, he always chooses the correct path. After a sort of tense escape, the Jungle Mist Spring is free for the soaking, which is good. Bowser Jr. soaks too long, draining all of his color. Not so good. Finally, I visited the Spring of Bliss to the east. Since it was too hot to enter, we have to jump over the wall to repair the cool water pipe, but once that's done, Bowser Jr. is healed, but we still have to find a way to restore his color. Thankfully, turning in our completed stamp card to the front desk will give us a Spring of Rainbows VIP card. This is used in this little hidden area to the left of the main island to access the path to the titular spring, which involves some high wind sliding. Upon entering the Spring of Rainbows, we're instead ambushed by a game show called Shy Guys Finish Last. To win this game show, we must earn a collective 100 points by participating in the 4 different minigames of varying difficulties. Since the challenges are chosen at random, here's a very brief overview of the 4 types. The Ring Scramble exists. I literally never got it on my playthrough. Race in Place has you watch a 4-person race and then answer a question using the ring to formulate your answer. Ninja Skills is basically a cup and ball game, though at level 3 you have to track 4 different ninjas. And Bath Math tests your memory and math skills by counting how many Goombas are in the bath at the end. None of these should be that difficult, but man, I was struggling. After winning, you're given a chance to participate in an optional sudden death round, which for some reason I chose to do, even though if you get it wrong, you game over. Well, when I did it, I answered correctly. Unfortunately, the reward is just a collectible. Oh man. Either way, we can finally take a dip in the Spring of Rainbows, restoring Bowser Jr. to his former glory. And with his clown car, Mario and Co. can fly up and take on the Lightning Sumo Bros in a neat little mini-boss fight. Overall, this is a pretty straightforward fight. You just have to take out these small bros while avoiding the lightning obstacles to bring down the big bro. With the free weapons we found throughout the world and a bit of pyrotechnics, we can emerge victorious. In an oddly inspiring scene, Kamek calls forth all of Bowser's minions, urging them to storm the castle. While we can help fight these guys, it's completely optional, so I instead went right to the top. After grabbing a couple of freebies, of course, we need to retrieve the key from Kamek's room, but along the way he goes missing. Also, after getting the key from Luigi, Olivia goes bye-bye. Whoops. Turns out she was nabbed by the Handaconda, which means the battle's first phase is spent rescuing Olivia. Once free, Olivia will let us use magic circles to initiate a little game of rock, paper, scissors. This seems totally random, but it was doable, I guess, so with some luck, we defeated him quite handily. Reunited once more, Olivia and Mario share a touching scene, while atop a bunch of dead minions. Neat. From here, the only thing stopping us from destroying the green streamer is a pair of scissors. Oh, and also a giant buzzy beetle abomination made of pieces of Bowser's minions. Gross. Mr. Snipperclips starts the battle with his blades in a sheath. Upon breaking the sheath or bringing his health down low enough, he'll use Cutting Board at the start of every turn, which removes panels from the board. You gotta open chests to get some of those back. When it's his turn to attack, he'll always use Final Cut, which cannot be blocked. You have to jump to dodge it, which is required. If you slip up and get hit by Final Cut, you'll take 999 damage. Ouch. In Phase 2, I found that jump attacks are useless, and elemental powers like the Icy Freeze are crucial to emerging victorious and in one piece. With the green streamer finally destroyed, Peach's castle is now completely unguarded. But how will we get there? Have no fear, because we're not alone. In a nice change of pace, Bowser, his minions, and Airship are going to help us get to the final boss. First, we get a nice little scene. A squad of Bomb-Moms report for duty, which briefly confuses Olivia. Bobby isn't being replaced, and she knows that, but she still gets to thank Bobby for what he did, which is pretty sweet. While we have a whole armada on our side, it's not smooth sailing because a fleet of paper airplanes arrives to take us out, resulting in a neat little shooting section. While we are victorious, the enemy gets the last laugh, slamming right into our side, causing us to crash into Hotfoot Crater. What follows is a tense escape sequence where both Kamek and Bowser Jr. come in clutch. Huzzah, we're finally here! But of course, we still need to get through the front door, which is locked. Luckily, it turns out that the key to the front door has been stuck in the tailpipe of Luigi's cart this whole time. Nice going, bro. A little walk later, we get a really cool looking cutscene, but not before a bit of fun dialogue from Bowser. Nice. Ollie folds Peach's castle into his own origami castle, which looks oddly familiar to a certain miniature we've seen before. This is the last place the game could have forced us to pay coins in the form of preparations, but instead, there are legendary boots and a legendary hammer in the item boxes right at the entrance, which is quite nice of the game. That said, Ollie's castle can be pretty challenging, especially with our limited items and lack of accessories. Because also, if you're not careful, falling down into the very bitey pit deals 100 damage, which doesn't leave much room for error. Regardless, it's fairly doable. It just took some tries. What follows is a very worrying battle against the Stapler, which is responsible for Bowser being stuck as a face this whole game. In this battle, you need to bait out his long-range staple gun attacks in order to survive his later staple rush. This almost felt like a health and equipment check, but even with our limited resources, I won. The only challenge that remained was King Ollie himself, but first, a surprise boss battle. Low self-confidence. Olivia doesn't know if she has the power to confront and stop her brother, but Bowser comes in clutch with the inspiration. What a guy. Finally coming papery face to face with the Origami King, it's revealed that Ollie has spent the whole game crafting origami cranes, aiming for 1,000 so that he can use them to get a wish, which would be to turn the world into origami. And he wants to use Mario's corpse for the crane number 1000. How sinister. What follows is a multi-phase boss battle of origami proportions. With some sense literally beaten into him, Prince Ollie asks Olivia to read the words scrawled onto his stomach, a seemingly careless act by his creator which started this whole ordeal. It reads, "Dearest Ollie, may you grow into a fair and kind king." Aw man. Overcome with regret, which I can actually sort of believe, Ollie asks that Olivia folds him into the final crane and wishes to undo all of the damage he's done. Oh man. So we learned in the Origami Workshop that it was Ollie who folded life into Olivia, which means that she undid all of the origami, including herself. Just like with Bobby the Bomb Mom, there is no bait and switch. She's just gone. Peace has returned to the land, and the Origami Festival can finally be celebrated, but at what cost? Oh, just my emotional well-being, and also a total of 5,300 coins. That too. If you're curious, in my roughly 20-hour playthrough, I amassed a bit more than 92,000 coins, so I guess that's not too much. While I wasn't sure what to expect going into this game or this challenge, what I got was a pretty fulfilling experience of reasonable difficulty. Oh, and a nice bonus of all this is that after the credits, the game congratulates me on never equipping a battle accessory, so that's cool. Since it's time to wrap things up, I'd like to thank my channel members for their support, with especially a big thanks to Christy Cuntris, Pseudonymous Jermanger, and Achilles Rhodes for being superfans. And of course, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider respectfully pressing that like button. Maybe also subscribe if you aren't so inclined. Check out more of my videos if you want. But anyways, that's it for me. I'll see you in the next one.